The moment before divorce, I lost my memory in a car accident. Faced with the divorce agreement Song Lee tossed over, I gasped. You made this much money behind my back? Hospital room. Song Lee had been pacing outside for a long time, seemingly hesitant about whether he should pressure me now. After saying a bunch of confusing things to me, the doctor came in and told him that my memory loss was genuine, not pretend. Song Lee's expression shifted back and forth before he finally told me. We were on our way to get a divorce, and before this, I had already backed out N times. All right then. His face is genuinely handsome. I probably did fancy him. But weren't we mortal enemies back in the day? I asked, coughing lightly, feeling massively awkward. How did we end up married? Song Lee was stunned. He probably hadn't expected me to forget even that. Forgetting is fine. Better not to remember. Song Lee, I gasped. Clutching the divorce agreement, I grabbed onto him tightly. Bloody hell, you've made this much money all these years. I met Song Lee, and also Gye in high school. Back then, Gye was the top student. We two were the slackers. Gye and I were childhood friends. He listened to my mum and kept an eye on me, nagging me about my studies. Song Lee was a handsome, rebellious slacker who led me astray, making me neglect my studies. He organized classmates into a bad girl crew to rival his school gang. Gye's attempts to persuade me failed. On the night after the Gaokao finished, Gye planned to come find me to ask about my university preferences, but I had arranged to go out for a fight with Song Lee. We had agreed that after 3 years, we must settle this once and for all tonight. Well, settled it brilliantly, didn't we? 7 years after graduating high school, we ended up settling it directly onto the marriage certificate. And I've lost 7 years of memories. Where Gye went, I have no impression, no idea. Suddenly, a woman pushed the door open. Her features looked familiar. She hesitated, then asked, Is it done, Song Lee? Song Lee frowned but said patiently, Wait a little longer. I looked at him, then at the girl, and blurted out, Weren't you my lackey back in the day? Chi Nui Nguyen was my little follower back then. Her family wasn't well off. Her grades weren't great, and she was quite timid. I saved her when she was being bullied by a bunch of actual tough girls. And from then on, she followed me around. When Gye tutored me, she could mooch off the lessons. When I fought and bickered with Song Lee, she followed along too. That girl who used to hide behind my back for everything back then was now looking at me with a sense of distance and hostility, her gaze also carrying a hint of awkwardness and shame. She pressed her lips together coldly. Bloody hell, are you his mistress? I said without thinking. For some reason, a seemingly familiar song popped into my head. Something about becoming someone else's mistress later on. Ahem. I couldn't help but put down the divorce agreement and clap. Dog blood drama. Truly bloody dog blood drama. Although I've forgotten what my marriage to Song Lee was like, and lost all memories of these past few years, my intelligence isn't lost. I put down the divorce agreement. I'm not getting divorced. Song Lee froze on the spot, then lost his temper. When she? He had finally managed to persuade me to agree to the divorce. And this was already the second trip to the Civil Affairs Bureau, after the cooling-off period had passed. I enjoyed the look of anger and frustration on his face, feeling a bit like the top sister of Mingshan Mountain back in my final year of high school. Chi Nuan interrupted. Song Lee, talk to her slowly. I believe she just still loves you. She. I pointed at the cash amount on the agreement and said, No. The money, it's not enough. It's too little. I tutted twice, running my tongue over my back teeth as I looked at them. How could I possibly sign this rubbish? My best subject back in the day was maths. Add a 0, then I'll sign. What are they playing at? Think they're the 8-Nation Alliance? Do I look like the sick man of East Asia? Hurry up, it's getting dark, the print shop will close soon. An hour later, holding the amended, still warm divorce agreement, I smacked my lips in satisfaction. What did Gye used to say about me? He said that if I didn't study properly, I wouldn't make any money in the future, would end up being a housewife, and with my temper, I wasn't cut out for that. If I met someone with a bad temper, I might even get beaten up. He probably never imagined I'd just sleep for a bit and earn this much money. I was so happy I practically wanted to jump for joy. Touching the stitches on my head, I hissed and drew in a sharp breath. Seeing the grim expressions on the faces of the two people beside me, I barely managed to stifle the irrepressible smile at the corners of my mouth. Oh well, you can always earn more money. But true love is hard to find. True love is hard to find. Have you really lost your memory? At that moment, an unreadable light flickered in Song Lisa's eyes as he looked at me slowly and asked that question. My mood finally sobered. Meeting his gaze, perhaps due to some influence from my lost memories, I pursed my lips, feeling a wave of sadness rise in my heart. Trust the doctors. Trust science. If I hadn't lost my memory, I might have been heartbroken. Agreeing to divorce so readily after losing my memory is better for all three of us. I looked up, smiling at Song Li. Shouldn't you feel relieved? Why do you look not very happy? Joke. What came back with my memory wasn't just my IQ, but my EQ too. Looking at the scene with three people here. If you told me that my separation from Song Li had nothing to do with Chino and Nguyen, that they were just moving on quickly at best, I'd never believe it even if I died. If that's the case, then these two are the enemies of my former self. Even if I've lost my memory, I can't let them off easily. Sure enough, Song Li's expression changed immediately. Chino and Nguyen quickly grabbed his arm and said calmly, Sixi is right. It is a release for all three of us. Sixi, take good care of yourself. This much money is enough for your recovery. I hope you won't contact Song Li again because of this in the future. Hey, he was my subordinate who lost back in the day. He wasn't as ruthless as me, even lost to me in his karate rank. Has she lost her memory too, perhaps? How on earth did I ever become interested in this sort of person? And had an affair? I didn't bother hiding it, rolled my eyes at her directly, swallowed the harsh words and asked, I'll call Ji Huai to pick me up from the hospital. Who needs you? By the way, where's my phone? Is he in this city? You. Chino and Nguyen's face paled dramatically, as if only now accepting that I had truly lost my memory. What's wrong? A bad feeling surged in my heart and I asked them seriously. Song Li stared at me coldly and suddenly spoke. You hurt Jiuwei badly. He's been abroad for 6 years. I think he just came back last month. Me? Hurt Jiuwei? How? Did I hit him? A pang of pain suddenly spread in my chest. Avoiding Song Li's gaze, I frowned. Why don't I have his number saved? Back in high school, my note for him was always Little Nanny Jiu, but I couldn't find it no matter how I searched now. But Song Li and Chino Nguyen both looked at me strangely, glanced at each other, then seemingly couldn't be bothered with me and left. My heart was pounding nervously. I sent a message to the class group. Someone give me GUI's contact info, please. Urgently needed. My little nanny is missing. Help me find him. People had just been chatting in the group. They were literally still sharing videos of girls dancing. Now it fell completely silent. After who knows how long. In the deathly silence, GUI's long-dormant QQ account lit up and emitted a single cold word. Hey. I was also stunned. The next second, unable to contain my earth-shaking power. Little Huai, where are you? I'm in the hospital. Come pick me up, yeah? Listen to this joke. Classmates, I married Song Li, and then we got divorced today. I sent a string of emojis. Mind you, the emojis these many years later are really quite nice looking. Another deathly silence, accompanied by one classmate typing ... A queue of classmates started typing ... What's the deal, guys? We shared a classroom together. Have some human compassion for me, all right? No matter what happened before, your sister she is back. Looking at my body, which was much more refined than before, my current mindset was truly that of a high school student. The mentality of a mad dog just after finishing the Gaokao. And I suddenly possessed so much money, sob. After who knows how long. My lovely classmates who'd been spamming 66,666 finally stopped their madness. Jiuhuai's avatar lit up again and asked one sentence. Which hospital? The classmates quietened for a moment. Then another row of question marks appeared, followed by rows of exclamation marks. Blimey. The internet culture these days is a bit scary. W City, 3rd People's Hospital, Surgery, Ward 712, I replied. Little Huai, I want to eat pan-fried pork buns. Anyway, back in the day I used to boss Ji Huai around in class just like this. After all these years, the habit was bone deep. Only after sending it did I remember to wonder if Ji Huai was married, or had a girlfriend or something. But the milk was spilled. Fortunately. A moment later, amidst the silence, Ji Huai's avatar moved again and emitted 2 simple words. Wait for me. The group exploded with a flood of crazy emojis. Everyone giving Ji Huai a thumbs up. I was confused, but felt quite reassured. It seemed he didn't have a girlfriend. I immediately felt completely at ease. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello? Chi Nuanuan's voice came through after a slow breath. I feel I must remind you, your relationship with Ji Huai is really very bad. It's stiff to the point of ignoring each other. Let me hire a carer for you. I'm afraid when he comes, it might stimulate you. You might not be able to handle it. Did she mean Ji Huai would retaliate against me? How many times had she reminded me like this now? I checked the number. I hadn't even saved it. Xiao Nuan. Chi Nuanwen's voice was tense. I laughed lightly. My relationships with Ji Huai and Song Li have always been closer than yours. What position are you speaking from now to speculate about my relationship with them? Your courage guts are much bigger than before. I'm quite happy for you. But my smile grew more sarcastic. I truly never saw this side of you before. As if feeling insulted, Chi Nuanuan was silent for a long moment before finally giving a cold laugh. She deliberately turned and said to Song Li, her voice coming through the phone. Don't bother packing. There's plenty of time to help me move my things in later. Even though when she hated me coming here before, even caused some unpleasantness. But from now on, it will be legitimate and proper. It's fine. Song Li's distant voice came through. She contacted Ji Huai. It's quite funny. I'm afraid Ji Huai might go over and shout at her. Really? Song Li's voice noticeably perked up, sounding hesitant. Don't worry. I asked my aunt to recommend a carer. They'll be at Zixie's side within an hour at the latest. You arrange it. Nuanwen, you don't have to be so kind. I really hadn't praised her for nothing. I directly scoffed. No need to specially show off your affection in front of me. I wish you, the bitch and the dog, a lasting relationship. You can say whatever you want about me, but talking about Ji Huai. If Ji Huai comes here and shouts at me, I'll stand on my head and bark like a dog. The door suddenly opened. A slender, pale, good-looking hand, with defined muscle lines, appeared in my sight. Ji Huai, his forehead sweaty, expression slightly tense, wearing a white shirt and grey trousers, looking somewhat disheveled, as if he had come in a great rush, walked over, looking at me. I was momentarily stunned by his stunning good looks, then held my breath, growing nervous. Would he really shout at me? When she, seeming to find my 180-degree change in attitude towards him after regaining consciousness strange, and noticing that Chi Nuanuan hadn't hung up. Song Li's voice sounded shocked and pained, as if he wanted to grab the phone and say something. Chi Nuanuan seemed very nervous. I forgot to hang up. But since you're already divorced, Song Li, don't argue with her anymore. I couldn't be bothered listening to their drivel, and was about to hang up when the man in front of me glanced at my phone and spoke coldly. I won't shout at her. She's lost her memory. Needs someone to look after her. If I don't come, who will? Brilliant. I stared blankly at the man in front of me. I don't know if it was due to the memory loss or something else, but it felt like I hadn't seen Ji Huai for a very, very long time. His slender fingers reached over, a faint, mocking smile tugging at his lips as he helped me hang up the call. Ji Huai waffled my hair, his voice hoarse as if coated with sand. There are no pan-fried pork buns downstairs, and you can't eat them anyway. These are glass noodle buns. You really have lost your memory, still thinking about the pan-fried pork buns from the school gate. It really was little Jiu. He had come. Bloody hell. How could I have believed those two idiots, Song Li and Chi Nuanwen? I was so happy I immediately jumped up, hugging Ji Huai and telling him about my memory loss, my headache, my sadness. Wen Shi, the 16th generation inheritor of the W City karate master, now had a marital history. And it ended because someone stole my partner. Hearing that Jiu Hui had been abroad for 6 years. How did my life get so bad without him? But I didn't let them off easily either. I said stubbornly, "Look, I managed to fleece this much money from them." Seeing the money, I genuinely couldn't feel sad anymore. Actually, while saying this, I had my arms around Ji Hui's neck. When Ji Hui felt me approach, at first his cool, handsome face blushed slightly. Then the tips of his ears turned completely red. After a moment of silence, he raised his hand and hugged me back. Maybe because my chest is bigger now. Anyway, as I blushed and tried to push him away, I felt dizzy and instead fell against him. Ji Hui, looking nervous, pressed the call button for me. Sure enough, being ill brings people closer. With all this hugging and holding, acting like family, noting down the instructions for me, even going to fetch the bedpan for me, I was absolutely having none of it. After I repeatedly insisted I didn't need it, Ji Hui paused. I was afraid you'd be too embarrassed to say. I'm perfectly fine with saying it. They said I hurt him, yet I had no problem directly messaging him in the group. Why would I be embarrassed about this? Eating, sleeping, hugging, all fine. Bedpan, no. I said seriously. Ji Hui smiled faintly, seemed to space out for a second. Then suddenly reached out and touched my head. Don't be afraid. I froze. So he had noticed. The day after the Gaokao was actually a turning point in my relationship with them. I had received a piece of news, and then later got a call from Song Li. Song Li found out something very bad that day. His proud, wealthy family was actually already in tatters. His father couldn't even wait until the day was over before bringing his mistress and their 2-year-old illegitimate son to have a meal, summoning Song Li to join. His mother, who had endured for many years, finally had her face publicly stripped away on the day he finished the Gaokao. And Song Li, who never cared about grades and was unruly, skipping school and fighting, had a fierce fight with his father that day. He won the fight, but was utterly defeated nonetheless. His 16 years younger brother stood nearby, crying in fright. His father, scrambling up, didn't care about his own dignity, but was concerned about not scaring that child. I went to find Song Li for a fight that day. Finally, I saw Song Li kneeling in front of a dustbin, crying his heart out. I didn't know if he was crying over the 3 years he had wasted, or for his mother, or for this bloody awful world. And I, clearly his mortal enemy, there to settle our duel. In the end, I held the sobbing him, my own heart aching, eyes welling up too, and said, I don't know how to comfort you either. My parents' relationship is really good. So let me tell you something sad that happened to me. It's so bloody sad. I fancied Ji Hui, I confessed to him. Guess what he said? The man in my arms stopped shaking. I gave a bitter smile, my voice trembling. He told me he'd always seen himself in a role of taking care of me, like looking after a child. Me suddenly saying I fancied him made him feel sick, like it was incestuous. I could accept him simply having no feelings for me. But he said my having such feelings was disgusting. I'll never like someone the way I liked him again. am so proud. Something like this will never happen a second time. So that day was actually the end of one of my secret admirers and the beginning of another. I had no idea why my memory suddenly returned to this day. But the appearance of Song Li and Shi Nuanwen made me feel. Perhaps it was my own realization that on that day, I had completely and utterly made the wrong choice. Yes, I've always been fiercely proud. So even though Ji Hui seemed to be showing genuine emotion at that moment, I just turned my head and said, Who's afraid? Have you ever seen a rich woman this scared? Right now, I am afraid. I'm afraid of dying with no one to inherit my massive fortune. Ji Hui didn't call me out. He came over and hugged me. His hands were so warm. Hands like a pianist's, with distinct knuckles, slender and strong, stroking my back, yet they couldn't calm my frantic heart. Because right now, I'd forgotten those 7 years with Song Li, but I remembered my feelings for Ji Hui. Judging by his current behavior, he held no grudges against me, and was still looking after me like before. But I am the Wen Shi from 7 years ago. I can't react without feeling anything. Will you tell me about these past 7 years? Ji Hui paused. What if I don't want to? What? Did he also want to go back to 7 years ago? Did his career fail? Was he dumped? I mentally, ed for a while, imagining all sorts of misfortunes that might have befallen him over the years. Suddenly he took a call, the number clearly from overseas, and Hawaii answered in fluent, almost IELTS band 8-level English. Speaking with the caller, I heard the word PhD. I snatched up a pillow and threw it at him. Drop dead. You top student. He said he went abroad because I made him angry, but he got his PhD. His PhD. If he wouldn't tell me, I could look for information myself. I checked my chat history with him. Blank. With Chi Nuan Nuan, a collection of green tea quotes. I could pretty much imagine how she used her helpless act to insert herself into someone else's relationship. As for me and Song Lee, it was unbearable to look at. Not coming back tonight. Are you with Chi Nuan Nuan? Does she have no one else to turn to but you? Whose boyfriend are you? You believe her words so easily. Think I did it. Me, when she... Is this what I look like in your eyes, Song Lee? I couldn't read any more. My chest felt tight. I got out of bed to use the bathroom. Because of my head injury, I couldn't walk fast. When I opened the door, I found a naked man. Ji Huai was wearing only a watch. He froze for more than a second when he saw me. Shocked, I stepped back, trying to close the door, but it caught my foot. Protecting my head and afraid of falling, I could only watch as the door creaked shut, slowly, in front of my face. Then slowly swung back open. Ji Huai, why didn't you lock the door while showering? Didn't expect a patient to be so nimble. You owe me for my eyes. I was furious. Okay. This rogue. Fuming, I managed to turn around slowly, covering my face, my heart sour and aching. How could he not have liked me back then, yet be so good to me now? Did I have to be so tormented by him that I lost my mind before turning to Song Lee? During my hospital stay, I asked a few close friends about the important events of my life over the past few years. Just a few key things. Song Lee and I founded Wensong Tech Media Co. Chi Nguyen was actually an employee I introduced later. Ji Wai scored very highly in the Gaokao, but went to a second-tier university in the provincial capital. The university valued him and offered him a postgrad placement. But during his second year, he was seriously injured in a provincial basketball final, suffering a severe Achilles tendon tear, forcing him to rest for a year. His future condition depended on his recovery. Later, he simply chose to drop out and go abroad. As for me, although my score was about 50 points higher than Song Lee's, I still went to the same university as him, along with Chi Nguyen. Destiny probably started to diverge right after the Gaokao ended. When I knocked on Song Lee's door, it was him who opened it. Someone I hadn't seen in half a month. I hadn't texted him at all, nor did I expect anyone to be home. I originally thought that as the owner, I could always get the property manager to let me in. Song Lee was stunned when he saw me. He suddenly stumbled over and held me tightly. He was breathing heavily, his voice hoarse and unwilling by my ear. Why haven't you sent me a single message all this time? You're injured. Even if we're divorced, I'd still take care of you. How could you bear to? This person was strange. He was the one who pressured me into the divorce. Maybe he was used to me chasing after him, unable to let him go. And now he couldn't handle me suddenly changing. Because I don't remember. I don't remember how we were good together, nor the specifics of how you were bad to me. I have no feelings for you now. I was afraid of getting hurt, so I didn't struggle. My head was slightly more important than my dignity. I turned my head and looked at him coldly. Don't you already know? I lost my memory on the way to get the divorce. Song Lee's eyes suddenly turned crimson, as if struck heavily. All of it. Nothing at all. My memory only goes up to after the Gaokao. I answered truthfully, squinting. Are you letting go or not? After the Gaokao? Song Lee seemed to remember something too, as if seeing someone else through me, remembering those words I said to him on a certain night. Suddenly, he began clenching his teeth in anger, pressed me against the wall, and fiercely held my head as he kissed me. You can't. You can't go back to that day. You can't choose him, you're mine. I was truly panicked. When a man uses brute force, I was filled with terror. Even using my strength, I couldn't break free. It was you who promised me to never contact him again. To never make me jealous again when she come back. Song-Li was mad. He didn't know why he suddenly couldn't accept this. His lips landed messily on mine, as if he wanted to consume me and reshape me. A force suddenly pulled him back, then caught me with a solid chest, using a punch to separate us. I was terrified. Instinctively, I hugged this person. Ji Huai's eyes were full of rage, but he was trembling. He carefully held me in his arms, smoothing my disheveled hair. He didn't speak to Song-Li, only carefully checked if I was okay. After being hit, Song-Li stood up, seeming unsteady, perhaps from a hangover, staring at Ji Huai as if facing a formidable enemy. He suddenly laughed in extreme anger and said, "Aren't you pathetic, Ji Huai? When she said such terrible things to you, and you still come back to look after her? As a man, have you no backbone? Your sports career was ruined because of her, yet she told you not to make a big deal out of it, not to pursue the matter against that person. She said it, and you listened. Years later, she calls, and you come crawling back like a dog. She's already slept with me. I know all her sensitive spots by heart, and you still want her?" Hearing this, I was the one shocked. Even with my memory loss, my head was buzzing. He was, after all, once my most intimate partner. This person emotionally cheated first, pressured me into divorce, then prevented Ji Huai from coming back to find me. And now, he was saying such humiliating things about me to my best friend since childhood. Ji Huai caught my clenched fist. He took a deep breath, didn't get angry, but instead gave a faint smile, as if reconciling with the absurdity of all these years. He always knew I was good at fighting. He was used to picking me up after my karate classes, then watching me to make sure I didn't drink fizzy drinks. For as many years as I trained, he bought me electrolyte drinks. I thought he must have liked me a little. But after I had someone pass him a note, he didn't show up. Instead, the note Ji Nuan brought back had his clear handwriting. "When she, don't make me disgusted by you. From now on, don't ever mention these words to me again. Otherwise, we can't even be friends. How could it be like this? Where did it go wrong?" Ji Huai touched my hair, let out a relieved sigh. Seeing that I had already heard, and it couldn't be hidden anymore, he smiled. "No, only seen him play basketball." The always cool and self-possessed top student was actually a provincial basketball team member, having played his way up from the youth team. Once, the provincial team chose our school's basketball court for a match. The whole school saw Ji Huai take off his uniform and put on a basketball kit for the first time, scoring points all over the court, sweating profusely, dazzlingly brilliant. How could an athlete not know how to fight? He placed me in a safe spot, then went over furiously, grabbing Song-Li by the collar. Hatred blazed in both their eyes. By the time I reacted, the furniture I found somewhat irritating to look at was almost completely destroyed. I called the police. When they arrived, I ran straight over to Ji Huai. When Ji Nuan arrived, her face was extremely pale. She stared at our interlocked fingers for a long time, then looked at Song-Li and went to help him up. Song-Li immediately shook off her hand. "Ji Nuan. Song-Li seemed to realize. Covering his face, he said hoarsely, "Sorry. These days I've been so concerned about your feelings. I haven't visited Wenqi. I feel very uncomfortable, Nuan. After all, she's someone I've been with for so many years. I find it hard to bear." Ji Nuan moved her lips. Smart as she was, she didn't say a word, only her voice trembled. "I know. By the way, I went to the hospital today. The baby is doing well." Song-Li froze. He looked at Ji Nuan's smiling face, then at her stomach, and finally looked at me with despair in his eyes. I had nothing to say. What could I say? While watching them fight earlier, my head had throbbed with pain, probably also stimulated by Song-Li's words. I finally remembered some things. A few days ago, when Ji Huai went back to extend his leave, the traffic police had contacted me. They said after reviewing the accident footage, they found my driving trajectory strange. That day, I should have been on my way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, but after taking a call, I made a U-turn. The footage showed I suddenly lost control of my emotions, stepped on the accelerator. The steering wheel didn't respond, and I crashed into the barrier. I started learning to drive with my dad in my second year of high school, driving boldly, hauling goods boldly. I never thought in my life that crashing my own car into a barrier would happen to me when she. I remembered some fragments. Like how Chi Nguyen Nguyen called Song Lee over at night. Like how I worked tirelessly at the company, while Song Lee made excuses to leave and be lovey-dovey with her. Like how Chi Nguyen Nguyen said her grandmother was taunted to her face. Your granddaughter is someone's mistress outside, which supposedly shocked her grandmother into illness. And Chi Nguyen Nguyen cried pitifully, while I had never even been to her hometown. And the most important thing, the call I received on the day of my accident. It was from her, Chi Nguyen Nguyen. The police took our statements, determined no one was seriously injured, and no one wanted to press charges and let us go. I held on to Ji Huai's arm, but he withdrew his hand. First checked my injury, then slung his jacket over one shoulder and put his arm around me. As we passed the ashen-faced Song Lee, Ji Huai turned his head. Pathetic or not, does it matter? She is far more important than my pride. But Song Lee seemed to suddenly remember something and sneered at him. It's stress-induced amnesia, Ji Huai. When she will remember. My heart skipped a beat. I had actually looked it up myself. Unless psychological intervention is needed, amnesia caused by brain trauma typically resolves within a month to half a year. So what? Ji Huai, however, smiled indifferently and held me tighter. I can afford to lose. Song Lee seemed to crumble. His face went blank, unable to utter a word. Ji Huai was about to escort me away when I suddenly stopped. My heart was beating loudly, as if I had returned to the night after the Gao Kao. Sweltering, restless and depressed, panicked. Right after the exam, I ran to the agreed spot, waited until nightfall, my parents' texts bombarding me. I never waited for him. My self-esteem, my pride, the domineering reputation of the top sister of Mingshan, didn't allow me to admit I had been rejected, and I swore never to confess my feelings a second time. I suddenly turned to look at Chi Nguyen Nguyen and asked her, Chi Nguyen Nguyen, back then, I asked you to tell Ji Huai about the meeting. Did you tell him? And that note he supposedly wrote to me, was it really from him? Chi Nguyen Nguyen was rooted to the spot. With the person involved right here, she couldn't even lie now. She could only stare wide-eyed at Ji Huai, unable to utter a word. Say it. I suddenly felt nervous, yet also tense and urgent. My heart calm, yet seemingly about to be swept by huge waves. I asked, word by word, my confession to him. Did he really say that I, when she, disgusted him? Ji Huai frowned, grabbed my hand, and asked coldly, what liking? I didn't need to hear the answer from Chi Nguyen Nguyen's mouth anymore. The moment I heard Ji Huai's response, my head buzzed, and I couldn't hear anything else. The whole world narrowed down to Chi Nguyen Nguyen's opening and closing mouth and tense expression, Song Lee's awkwardly averted face, and Ji Huai's patient, worried questioning. So it was all fake. My confession to Ji Huai. He never knew about it. Those words weren't from him. Even the handwriting was forged by someone with ulterior motives. For a moment, overwhelming anger and regret surged towards me. I lowered my head, resisting the dizziness, and quickly grabbed Ji Huai's hand as he worriedly felt my forehead. I said, I wanted to confess to you after the Gao Kao. I asked her to tell you. I waited for you in the school grove for 3 hours. You didn't come. Later, you called me, but I was too upset to answer. It wasn't that I didn't want to look up. My memory was stuck in that mindset right now, my face burning hot enough to cook an egg. Perhaps losing my memory was like living again, making me feel it was unbelievable, and that it would be a shame not to seize the chance to bear my feelings and get to the bottom of it once. Ji Huai was more shocked than I was. After a long time, his slender hand rested on my shoulder as he looked at Chi Nguyen Nguyen. She looked like a drowned rat, utterly defeated. Seemingly trying to save face, she deliberately sneered and said to me, it wasn't just me who knew. I told Song Lee about it back then, discussed it with him. Guess what? He suggested I not tell you. She wanted to drag Song Lee down with her. She could see Song Lee's current attachment to me and wanted to destroy whatever little connection remained between us. I understood and looked up with a bright smile. Are you trying to say that Song Lee actually liked me, even before the Gao Kao, which is why you colluded? Chi Nguyen Nguyen was completely defeated. Perhaps fearing the four of us would clash and fight again, The police separated us into two pairs and told us to leave separately. GY had his car, while they had to be driven by the police car. As we watched them leave, GY stood there, cold and detached, unwilling to get in the car for a long time, staring intently at them as if trying to suppress some strong emotion. The wind blew past. He looked very lonely and very handsome. I couldn't console him. I could barely manage myself right now. GY seemed to come to his senses, leaned into the car, saw I hadn't fastened my seatbelt, came over and embraced me. I trembled, meeting his close-up gaze. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Scared sitting here? Want to sit in the back? Not scared. I remember you drive steadily. Nowadays there's an internet slang where driving has another meaning. So, after hearing this, he only maintained his composure for a few seconds before his breathing became uneven, and those thin lips seemed to be inviting me. I truly didn't know. He was making me feel embarrassed. Let's talk back home. Actually, apart from the house I shared with Song Lee, I had no other property. All my funds were invested in the company. I hadn't even acquired any significant personal assets, no house, no luxury goods, no funds or futures. In the end, I took a large sum of money and 20% of Wensong's equity. Nothing else. Jiuhai's job was in another city, but I didn't know how he managed to get such a long leave and quickly rent a place with me. Because of my head injury, Jiuhai moved everything by himself. His arms and back were sweaty, soaking through his clothes. It was particularly sexy. Perhaps my gaze was too intense. He finally picked something up, then put it down again. Maybe you should go lie down for a bit. The way you're looking at me, I'll lose my strength soon. I exploded. What's wrong with me? Is my stare that obvious? You've looked after me since we were kids. Is it so absurd for me to fall for you? Look in the mirror. Aren't you handsome? Is my taste that bad? Are you going to reject me? A second time? Do you think I haven't suffered enough? But he still hadn't responded to my youthful feelings from all those years. So the possibility of rejection still existed. When his lips blocked mine, they carried a slight autumnal coolness, wrapped in a burning, lingering effect. I was caught off guard as Jiuai hugged me. It seemed he wanted to wipe away the traces Song Lee had left earlier. He was forceful yet firm. I melted within seconds. I tried to speak, but was blocked again. We tugged at each other's clothes, like a long-standing contest. That afternoon, Jiuai strode forward, lifted me up as easily as a chick, and kissed me until I was dizzy. For the first time, I learned that top students could kiss with such domineering posture, so voraciously, afraid of pressing my wound against the wall. He used his hand to pull me tightly towards him. My heart was beating like crazy. In the end, both of us were desperately proactive, as if just trying to fulfill a dream from our youth. After settling in, we started sleeping in separate rooms. Because Jiu Hoi had delayed his work for too long, he often left early and returned late a few days each week. But someone always came to take care of me on schedule. I reassured my family but didn't go back to see them, afraid they would find out about the divorce, and even more afraid they'd learn about my injury. Once everything was sorted, I got into a taxi. I had asked Song Lee several times to meet for the divorce certificate, but he wouldn't come. I had to go myself. After giving the company's address, Chino and Yuan called again. She sounded rather swamped and at wit's end. Because of that large sum of money we gave you, the company's cash flow has broken. We can't cover the upfront payments now, and orders can't be fulfilled. Please, have a heart, save Song Lee, can you? To be honest, if this were before, if they'd offered me interest at the market rate, I might have covered the payment. But now, knowing how Chi Noan Nguyen had sabotaged things with Jiu Hai, and hearing about those things from Song Lee that I never knew, that line didn't work on me anymore. I'm on my way, almost there. Lately, fragmented memories had been flashing in my mind. My studies, my work experience. Bits and pieces were coming back. The closer I got to the Wensong building, the stronger those memories became. Strangely, I didn't feel as much rejection or sadness towards the company as I expected. At the entrance, I bumped into someone. He looked at me with a hint of familiarity. Zhao Shi. I squinted. You? Ah, I'm your father, he said, surprised. What's going on with you and Song Li? He hasn't been home for ages. I had some time today. Thought I'd drop by the company. And just ran into you. Come on, let's go up together. So this was my father-in-law. I let out a cold laugh inwardly, vaguely recalling how I tried to mend the relationship between Song Li and him, even ingratiating myself with his few-year-old son. I wasn't just Song Li's capable partner at work. I was the social lubricant for his family. For a middle-aged man like Song Tianlang, who craved female admiration and domestic harmony, and who held real power and wealth, head-on confrontation never worked. Even someone as strong-willed and sharp-tongued as me, when she knew that. Yet Song Li could never swallow his pride, not even to play along superficially. I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to get angry, I said. Song Tianlang laughed heartily. Are you pregnant? I've been saying, don't always focus on work. Once you have a child, that boy Song Li will settle down. Quite the assumption. When Song Tianlang entered, he saw Song Li looking disheveled, on the phone in his office, with Chi Nuan hovering worriedly beside him. When Chi Nuan saw me come in, she moved to say something, but under Song Tianlang's icy glare, she retreated, shocked and deflated. Song Li stood up, hope flashing in his eyes as he looked at me. But when he saw his father, his face momentarily turned ashen. I heard about the situation. I reviewed the case file on the way here, I said, opening the document on my phone and placing it in front of him, my gaze steady. Song Li, I personally secured Mr. Ming as a client back in my day. His issue with cooperating isn't about upfront payments. It's because the main contact is no longer me. I never told you, but his daughter once attempted suicide. I was the one who resolved that situation. That's the fundamental reason he agreed to work with us. I'm offering you a way out. Secure this deal, give me an additional 5% equity, and quarterly dividends. If you agree, draft the contract and sign it. From now on, if you need my help with anything, bring equity to the table. And also, take a proper look at the messages I sent you. Stop pretending you haven't seen them about finalizing the divorce. When Song might not seem like a heavyweight now, but its prospects were good, with a unique technological monopoly in the industry. It was bound to go public someday. Wen-shi, mathematics graduate, was never just some idiot who only knew how to take a fixed sum. Chi Nuan was the first to react. She stepped forward with a sneer. You actually dare? Song Tianlang eyed her, hands behind his back, exuding authority without raising his voice. Zhao Li, explain this woman to me. The initial funding for Wen Song came from Song Tianlang. My efforts to build rapport and mediate had played a significant role. So at this moment, he certainly had the right to demand an explanation. Song Li seemed on the verge of breaking down. It was dawning on him belatedly that whether it was the company's clients or his personal family, Wen-shi, had sunk my roots so deep that a simple divorce agreement could never cleanly sever our ties. I'll sign, Song Li said to me. Dad, Zhao Shi and I have just been arguing recently, but I'll make it up to her. There's no need for you to get involved in Wen Song. Everything is fine here. Song Tianlang, having long learned to let go of controlling Song Li under my earlier persuasion, smirked coldly at Chi Nuan and gave Song Li a warning look. You've made your bed. You'd better lie in it. I didn't correct him. After all, I also wanted Wen Song to do well. I was a shareholder now. Song Li and I saw Song Tianlang downstairs together, leaving Chi Nuan to stare after us, wide-eyed. Wen-shi, your memory is back, isn't it? Someone grabbed my arm as I was leaving. I paused. Not completely. If you tell me what happened between me and GUI, I'll tell you everything I can remember about work. GUI won't tell me. Song Li's expression darkened, his grip tightening. Dream on. Chi Nuan came running out after us. I smiled at him. Better go back and comfort her. You spent a fortune on me to make her position legitimate. Now that you have her, you're leaving her out in the cold. Be careful you don't end up with nothing, President Song. Song Li seemed unable to believe I'd address him so formally. Even as Chi Nuan came up and clutched his arm possessively, his gaze still followed me. Just based on the misunderstandings between us, caused by Chi Nuan, his cold treatment of me, And the humiliating things he said to me, it was destined that I, and she, whether I regained my memory or not, could never even be friends with him again. I sent him the appointment details and promptly blocked his WeChat. But I still hadn't remembered the reason Heroine and I had completely cut contact. That seemed to be the thing I was most unwilling to touch deep in my heart. Every time I tried, my head throbbed violently. I only remembered that when I first got together with Song Lee, Chinu Nguyen was always hovering around. GY had warned me a few times that I was trusting the wrong person. But I didn't want to listen. And Song Lee had fought with me several times back then, threatening me, demanding I cut ties with GY. And I actually said things like, "Don't come find me anymore," to GY. So stupid. So stupid that the current me wanted to rush back in time and slap my past self. I never thought I'd learn the reason from the most unexpected person. 3:10 high-speed train, home before 4. GY reported his schedule, then paused, as if sensing something. "Don't come pick me up." Huh? Are you sure you're not overthinking it? After getting the divorce certificate, I sat in the taxi, feeling guilty. Better if I'm not. GY was momentarily stunned, then laughed. "Take good care of that head of yours, Wenxi. It's the thing I care about most." "Piss off." I hung up, blushing. Actually, these days, GY and I had been getting along well. All right, fine. We were in that more than friends, not quite lovers zone. Partly because my wound wasn't fully healed, and I needed his help with things like showering and washing my hair. On the other hand, now that we knew each other's youthful feelings, even though we were aware of past misunderstandings, we couldn't help but grow closer. The driver suddenly stopped. I looked up and saw someone standing by my window. A super familiar figure. Auntie Jiu. I was overjoyed and jumped out of the car, hugging her. "Auntie Jiu. It's me, Wenxi. You look so beautiful. Still so young after 7 years." Auntie Jiu seemed completely unprepared for my reaction. She froze for a long moment before finally, with visible effort, peeled me off her. I saw her eyes redden rapidly, the corners of her mouth twitching twice from emotion. She took a breath before saying, "I've sent someone to pick up Zhao Hai. Wenxi, how about Auntie treats you to a coffee? We can sit and talk for a bit." Okay. Seeing her like this, I didn't dare act too familiarly. I had a vague idea what she wanted to talk about, but I still tried to please her by ordering, getting myself a milk, and then smiling as I added sugar to hers. 2 cubes. No creamer. 60 degrees. Auntie Jiu, how have you been? Where do you get your treatments? I want to learn, tell my mum about it. Auntie Jiu took a sip of her coffee. Her eyes seemed to grow wetter, but her gaze turned completely icy. She seemed exceptionally calm. "I heard you lost your memory. That's the only reason I can sit here and talk to you properly. Otherwise, Wenxi, if it were the you from before the amnesia, this coffee would be poured over your head right now. What does it feel like to hear the harshest words from an elder who once doted on you the most?" My smile slowly faded. I knew this moment would come eventually. I was prepared, but I was still reluctant to let go of the bond Jiu Hai and I had built these past few days. Just from the things Song Lee said that day, I could barely imagine what those events must have been like for Jiu Hai. I had asked other classmates too. It roughly matched what Song Lee said. I was too afraid to face the truth, which is why I hadn't remembered a single detail these past days. I bit my lip, forcing a bitter smile. "Please go ahead. You were very fond of me when I was little. Even though you and Uncle G were busy, and had GY stay with our family. After Uncle G got promoted, you even gave our family a share during the Chi Keen demolition and relocation. I remember all your kindness to me. And now I know I wronged GY in the past. Whatever you say, I will agree to it, and I won't hold it against you." Auntie G seemed taken aback by how reasonable I was being now. She was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly for a while. "If only you had always been like this. But Ji Wei is my child. He's never faced any other major obstacle in his life, Wenxi. All his setbacks have been because of you. I can't just stand by and watch you destroy him, over and over again." My heart ached sharply. It took several deep breaths before I dared to meet her gaze firmly. Auntie Gu threw a few photos in front of me. The location. Abroad. The scene. Graduation photos. Gu wasn't in them. That was 6 months ago, Auntie Gu said, rubbing her temples. Gu was graduating with his PhD. 2 days before the ceremony, he got a phone call. He didn't even inform his professor, just flew back to China. The day after graduation, an international company wanted to sign a contract with him. But he wasn't there. That day, your father had a heart attack and was hospitalized. Gu knew the call was from you. So even though you didn't say anything specific, he came back because of that one call from you. He had already arranged for a specialist through a friend to see your father. But he was afraid his father and I would interfere or stop him. So he came back secretly. That specialist called in a favor. So Gu turned down that job offer with a 2 million annual salary and came back to work at a startup run by the specialist's relative. Auntie G looked at me with deep resentment. I stared at the photo, a voice echoing in my mind. Heavy rain, thunder. I couldn't get through to Song Li. The taxi queue was half an hour long. In a panic, I dialed that overseas number I'd only dared to memorize, crying, Ji Huai, help me. After hearing Ji Huai's clear breathing on the other end, I suddenly realized I didn't deserve to ask. I hung up in a panic. The car I booked later arrived quickly. The specialist came too. Ji Huai really didn't need to rush back. But he still did. He stood right around the corner, not approaching, hiding from me, secretly watching me, as if afraid I would dislike him. Strange, why would he be afraid I'd dislike him? Auntie G grabbed my hand, word by word. Wasn't it you who said never to contact each other again? 4 years ago, you promised me that yourself. My head ached terribly, and so did my hand, but I didn't struggle, just looked at her steadily. Back during the Gaokao with his score, he could have gone to Peking University, but he was dragged down by you to a second-tier institution. You secretly lowered your own score to follow that Song Li. GUI lowered his standards to follow you. Without you, would he have gone crazy with the rest of you? He went to the university you applied to, but you weren't even there. How could you do that to him? Let's forget that. During the provincial team finals back then, he was a promising talent who could have gone abroad. But why did that guy on the opposing team target him? Because that guy had harassed you, and GUI taught him a lesson. That guy held a grudge and intentionally tripped him. You told me you never thought it would be so serious. So what if you didn't think? After it happened, his father and I could have handled it. I could have made that guy rot in jail. That you said that guy's family had business collaborations with Song Li's company. You personally went to beg Jiu Huai to let that guy off when she... How could you have the nerve? He got injured because of you. How could you do that to him? The sky, which had been clear just moments ago, quickly turned overcast. The sunlight vanished, hiding beneath the clouds. In my dizziness, I seemed to see that day again. I ran to find Jiu Huai. He sat in a wheelchair, looking at me with a calm expression. I said, I know I've wronged you. That project is Song Li's responsibility. It's a crucial time for him in the power struggle with his stepmother. I have to help him. Jiu Huai, you can refuse me. I won't blame you. How could he bear not to help you? It's precisely because he can't bear to see you suffer that he lost all his principles and bottom line. Auntie Jiu practically spat the words out. Furious. Ji Huai's deep affection might seem moving to outsiders, but as his mother, she only felt heartache and resentment. That day I also found you, right here in this cafe. When you promised me personally to stay away from Ji Huai, to say some harsh words to make him give up. You've lost your memory, you say? Then let Auntie tell you why everyone says you detest him. Because you have no shame. Because you feel guilty too. Even though your guilt has never been of the slightest use. Auntie Ji sat down, seeming utterly exhausted. When your memory can recover. Have you thought about that? If you remember everything and still have feelings for Song Li, what will become of Jiu Huai? I remembered. Walking home alone, I inexplicably crossed the street. As the crowd thinned, it all came back to me. In our first year of university, Jiu Huai and I argued because of Song Li. I told him to stop meddling in my life, thinking to myself, he's the one who rejected me. And now he's stopping me from being with someone else. How hypocritical. We kept our distance for a while. My relationship with Song Lee grew stronger. After one gathering, Ji-Hoi and I reconnected. He cautiously asked if I wanted to come watch his game. Seeing Song Lee busy with a project alongside Chi Nuan, I replied with a secretive okay. Just childhood friends watching him play ball. Nothing wrong with that, right? Having never been to his provincial team's facilities before, I accidentally walked into the men's locker room and got harassed by someone. He grabbed my high ponytail, refusing to let me go, laughing to his teammates. Not bad, this one? Whose girlfriend? Came here looking for a man. It was a friendly match between their team and Ji-Hoi's. Ji-Hoi came in and rescued me from that guy, though not in a friendly manner. I didn't think much of it, just joked around roughly with Ji-Hoi as usual. After the match, that guy maliciously cornered me. That day, I was almost sexually assaulted. If I didn't have some self-defense skills, he might have succeeded. Later, Ji-Hoi beat him up severely in front of many people. Let's just say, any man, after being warned and humiliated like that, would hold a grudge. Song Lee fought with me again later, saying I'd promised not to interact with Ji-Hoi. Aren't you also overly familiar with Chi Nuan? Song Lee, if you have the guts, promise me you won't see her either. I yelled back, furious. Song Lee was shocked. When she, be reasonable. We're in the same major. We applied for the project together. You know all this? Using this to pick a fight now? How have you become so unreasonable? Back then, I wasn't very good at dealing with that kind of PUA tone. I felt so wronged I was on the verge of tears. Perhaps it was because of Ji-Hoi's firm rejection after the Gaokao that led me to choose Song Lee in every subsequent decision. And Ji-Hoi, seeing that his interventions only hurt my relationships, eventually decided to let go. I was supposed to watch his final match, the one where he got injured, but I stood him up at the last minute because of Song Lee. Later, Song Lee said to me dejectedly, I know I've wronged him, but he's already injured, and he has the means to get treatment. Why must we pursue responsibility? That guy knows about my relationship with you. If we do, his family will never cooperate with ours again. You know how much my father despises me. If I can't win this for my mother in this lifetime, I might really lose forever to that woman and her child. I had witnessed how decisively Song Lee's father had betrayed his family, and I knew how deeply Song Lee was hurt by it. The scales in my heart tipped in his favor, even if that meant stepping on Ji-Hoi's pain. Why did I cut contact with Ji-Hoi for so many years? Why did I say those harsh words, telling him never to contact me again? Because Auntie Jiu was right. Because I felt guilty. During those 4 years of no contact, our chat dialogue box lay lifeless, perpetually silent. No matter how much I suffered in my relationship, I didn't dare contact him. And he once cautiously asked me, You won't even say Happy New Year to me? I could only hold my phone, crying uncontrollably. The time my father had the heart attack was the only time I could hold on and contacted him. And he was so considerate from start to finish, never once making me see him. What happened to me these past 7 years? Had I gone mad? Ji-Hoi found me at the playground near our building. I was playing marbles with a bunch of kids, winning until they were almost in tears, then giving the marbles back to them. I looked up and met Ji-Hoi's face. Panting, worried, with a trace of fear in his eyes. Thought you'd gone off somewhere. Ji-Hoi crouched down, gently touching my wound. Weren't you thinking of picking me up? I waited for you for ages, only for my mum's people to show up. I looked at him, wanting to smile, but couldn't. I opened my mouth and tears fell. Ji-Hoi. I'm sorry. There were many parents around the building, but Ji-Hoi wasn't afraid of them seeing. He held me, comforting me for a long time, helplessly greeting everyone who looked our way before taking me home. I truly had nothing to say to him. In the end, I was crying so hard I was hiccuping, my arms around his neck, repeating, I'm sorry, over and over. Don't be. Ji-Hoi listened quietly until I finished, then replied calmly, his voice very soft. I know my mum looked for you. I guessed your thoughts, your choices. Maybe because I liked you too much, I took it seriously. When you said to me face to face, let's just consider it me wronging you. Don't contact me anymore. I really thought you detested me. The heartache was real, so it took me many years to recover. But I would have recovered eventually. Because I really, really liked you. That's why he held me and told Song Lee, I can afford to lose. That's why he rushed into my hospital room and said into the phone, if I don't come, who will? Even if I might regain my memory. Even if I might only be the Wen Shi from 7 years ago for a month. None of it mattered. My eyes were instantly flooded with tears. GY gently coaxed me, just like before, telling me I'd cry myself sick, telling little Shi to stop crying. Emotions crashed inside my chest with nowhere to go. I blocked his lips with mine. Tears are salty. He is warm. My lower lip was caught between his teeth. Then the grip on my waist turned almost savage. He pressed my spine upwards fiercely, as if offering me to the tiger's mouth. Even so, I refused to let go, biting back hard. Ji Huai's hold loosened. Chuckling, he slowly melted me into pliant softness. It was unclear who started tearing at whose clothes first. When I met his gaze, I saw fire in his eyes. On the day after the Gaokao, he walked out of the classroom, fresh and bright like the clear breeze under the moonlight. His eyes shining as if hoping to walk towards a new future with me starting from that day. That's why I mustered the courage, thinking we could have a different possibility. Thinking back to the day I planned to confess, I was filled with regret. Infinite regret, wishing life could start over. Even if I knew he had rejected me, I should have rushed back, stopped him, and said, "What's wrong with me? What part of me don't you like? Little G, you obviously like me to death, I can feel it." I should have been braver. Ji Hai lifted me up entirely. I felt like a shrimp scalded red. The moment I was set down, I clung to him, trembling. Song Lee said, "He touched me." "Aren't you?" Ji Huai covered my eyes. His voice was unbearably hoarse. "If you don't like those memories, I'll help you overwrite them, erase them clean." The night fell into disarray. The moon from back then was right here in my arms, having shed its shy exterior, embracing me deeply with profound affection. Song Chuanlang eventually found out about the divorce. His call woke me, followed by a barrage of texts from Song Lee. I paused, blocked the numbers I needed to block, and was promptly pulled into someone's embrace. "Dealing with people you dislike is a waste of brainpower," Jiuai said, taking my phone and speaking seriously. I stretched. "So, what doesn't waste brainpower?" Jiuai's eyes darkened slightly as he leaned in for a kiss. "Let me handle it. Doesn't waste brainpower. He's so bad." More of my memory resurfaced. Just before falling into deep sleep last night, I finally remembered the details about my father's hospitalization. Back then, my relationship with Song Lee was already very strained. It probably started around that time that I gradually became disheartened with him. So much so that the next time he mentioned divorce, I agreed immediately. He had abandoned me countless times for Chi Nuenuan, misunderstood me countless times, and openly favored her. Initially, I probably felt that this relationship came at the cost of giving up on Jiu Huai. The sunk cost was too high to abandon. Otherwise, how could I justify having given up on Jiu Huai? If one day he came back and saw me, asking how I'd ended up like this, what would I do? As disappointments piled up layer by layer, on that stormy day when I couldn't reach Song Lee and couldn't find anyone to help, Chi Nuan called and said, "Song Lee drank too much and fell asleep holding my hand. I can't get away." "When she, speak quietly. What happened to your dad?" My once good friend was now asking me questions with feigned concern, secretly gloating. And the man who constantly claimed nothing was going on with her was alone with her late at night. It was in that moment I felt tired. The complete loss of hope can happen in an instant. A marriage of many years couldn't end quickly. Song Lee and I were still entangled for another half year, until my car accident and memory loss. Due to work matters, my contact with Song Lee remained relatively frequent. Chi Nuan was going crazy, and he started arguing with her. I overheard one of their fights. "When she, get me the apron," a cool male voice spoke from my kitchen. "Coming." I completely ignored the argument happening on the phone, hopped over to get GUI's apron, hung it around his neck, and tied the strings with one hand while saying to the person on the phone, This US order was always troublesome with after-sales. You were the one who insisted on taking it. I suggest terminating the agency. There are better brands available from Germany. After finishing his tirade at Chi Noan, Song Li paused, then said through gritted teeth, "Are you with Ji or Hui?" I continued, "But I don't plan to handle it for you. I'm starting my own company, Song Li." "Baby, I want sweet and sour," I said, standing on my toes and giving Ji Hui a clear kiss. Silence fell, both on and off the phone. Ji Hui held my waist, leaning down to claim another kiss. "Sweet and sour? That'll cost extra." All right, you can have it." The sound of kissing traveled through the phone until Song Li finally couldn't take it, slammed the phone down in anger, and hung up. So fragile. I was feeling quite pleased with myself when suddenly Auntie Jiu called. I was so startled I buried my head in a certain someone's chest, not daring to look up. Gy wiped his mouth awkwardly, looked at the phone, and seemed torn between laughter and tears. "Mum." "Yes, I'm with her. I'm not going back to that job. Planning to start a business. I'm not asking you for money or connections, so why worry?" Ji Hui rubbed my head and smiled. "Sorry for making you worry. But until she's fully recovered, I'll need you to keep worrying for me a little longer. As repayment, I'll have my future children be extra filial to you." I could even hear Auntie G's furious, deep breath through the phone. "If you don't live a good life from now on, just you wait until you come back. I'll beat you senseless." 2 months later, I finally went to visit my parents. During this time, I'd kept them happy and cheerful over the phone. My mum was especially pleased because, since my dad's illness, she finally had a legitimate reason to stop him from drinking. "You still won't listen? I'll have your daughter come deal with you. Because of your illness, our daughter even got divorced. Keep it up. Just keep it up." My dad was defiant. "Isn't that good? I never liked that boy anyway. If you didn't like him, why let your daughter suffer? Why not beat him up? I'll have Zhao Jiu come back and beat him up." Jiu Hui, holding my hand, walked in, smiling like the spring breeze. "Uncle, Auntie, long time no see." "Oh, Zhao Jiu." My mum rushed out without even washing her hands, her eyes reddening as she hugged him. "What a tragedy. Our Zhao Shi wronged you. Auntie will beat her up for you." Ji Hui was taken aback, tightened his grip on my hand and smiled. "It's fine. Besides, I can't bear to let you beat her now." My mum's old face flushed red. She glared at me as if to say, "How did you ever deserve this?" "Hey, I'm just that capable." I went back to the car to retrieve a forgotten item and suddenly witnessed a scene. Chi Noan got out of a luxury car, her face extremely pale, walking quickly despite her visibly pregnant belly. A portly middle-aged man got out after her, grabbing her, his face full of anger. The two were arguing intensely. By the time Chi Noan noticed me watching the scene with relish from across the street, 5 minutes had passed. My mum called me. "Got it. Coming right away," I replied. Chi Noan, her face deathly pale, stared at me across the street and sent me a WeChat message. "When if you dare tell Song Li." I was speechless. After a moment, in the warm early summer breeze, I smiled and sent her a voice message. "I won't tell him. May you two be entangled forever. None of my business." I hung up and walked away casually and unconcernedly. Her well-being, good or bad, was no longer my concern. If there were problems, why would I point them out? Letting them suspect and consume each other brought me the most satisfaction. Night fell. My mum finally got tired from shopping and wanted to go home. I asked her to get in the car first. While Gy got out to pay the parking fee, I ran across the street to buy milk tea. The light was green. I ran across. My mood was light and free and easy, full of hope. Suddenly a car, ignoring the glaring red light, sped out and rushed straight towards me. In that split second, I saw Chi Nuan's malicious, vicious face on the street corner, and the fat man in the driver's seat. When a hoarse shout cut through the early evening street. Someone shoved me hard from behind. My head hit the curb, sharp pain and dizziness overwhelming me. Screams, the sound of a crash, filled my ears. My head was bleeding. I couldn't stand up. In that instant, my heart beat so loudly. I wanted to reach Ji Hui. Regardless of life or death, I wanted to run to him, to be with him forever. But dizziness enveloped me. Thankfully, I saw Ji Hui get up and run towards me. The lights above swayed swaying, my head spun intensely. We're taking her into surgery now. The consent form is signed, right? Patient Wenxi, head trauma. Clearing the hematoma might worsen the previous stress-induced stimulation. Hard to say what the consequences might be. Save her life first. Whatever happens, it's fine. It's signed. Ji Hui's voice trembled. The heavy, painful feeling in my head was similar to that day. I grabbed Ji Hui's hand. It's not too serious. I can still talk. I don't want the surgery. Wenxi, be good. I won't be good. I suddenly broke down emotionally, looking at him. Ji Hui, what if I remember everything and, like someone else again? What will you do? Ji Hui froze. For a moment, it felt like time stopped throughout the whole world. Hurry, get her in. What are you waiting for? The nurse urged impatiently. Ji Hui held my hand, leaning down close. Wenxi, listen to me. In this world, there isn't a single person who doesn't need to pay for their mistakes. But with me, you are the exception. I will always wait for you. I will always be your most loyal servant. Epilogue. Ji Hui. My earliest memories include being at Wenxi's house. This naive, unrestrained girl who lived like a little son. Initially, with my quiet nature, I found her noisy. Later, I grew accustomed to the noise, and leaving it behind suddenly felt uncomfortable instead. My mum worked in the system, my dad was busy with business. Since childhood, Wenxi's parents looked after me. I didn't accept kindness for free, so I looked after Wenxi in return. She was truly hard to manage. But I also felt a great sense of accomplishment. Every time I saw her improve, become more excellent, win a match, advance to a red belt, then black belt, I felt proud by association. In high school, she blossomed into a graceful young woman. My dad's business wasn't any less busy. Staying at her house became increasingly inconvenient for me. But when she didn't care, she would still jump on my back right after showering, wrap her arms around me, and cheekily call herself your lord or master. I was annoyed by her boldness, but I noticed she was only like this with me. Inappropriate thoughts took root at some point, sprouted, and grew into something frightening in places I wasn't aware of. What exactly is liking someone? In high school, I thought it was control. So I managed her. She resisted being managed. And I found that normal. Later, in university, I thought it was tolerance, so I watched her be with someone else. Swallowing my discomfort, as long as she was happy. But when she was unhappy, I was also distraught. Later still, she came to me, begging. I thought then that liking might be inability to bear something. Even if I was angry myself, I couldn't bear to see her not get what her heart desired. During those years abroad, my mum thought I left because my pride as a top student was wounded. She didn't know I just didn't want Wenxi to be in a difficult position. What she wanted, whatever it was, it turned out I could give it to her. Where was my bottom line when it came to her? The day I rushed back after hearing about her car accident, I finally knew. My bottom line, it turns out, never existed. That day, hearing she was in trouble, I came immediately. I wandered downstairs, thinking that if she just sent me a message, if she thought of me for even half a second, I would go to her. I thought I was a hero who could bend and stretch. Later, I understood. I had been waiting for this day all along. In our relationship, I was always the passive one. She held my lifeline. I submitted to her, from the beginning until the end. Willingly. Epilogue. When I woke up one afternoon, I was already awake but didn't want to get up. I'd had an overly long dream, heavy with emotion. When I opened my eyes, I felt a bit hopeless. Sure enough, Gye was gone. Songli opened his eyes, rushed to my side, and asked me hoarsely how I felt. It felt like a lifetime had passed. I thought that if he had treated me like this 2 months ago, perhaps I might have regretted the divorce one more time. But now I reached for my phone just an arm's length away, and with cold eyes, calmly called the police. That day, Shino Anoan had indeed called someone to run me over with a car. But for some reason, that person changed their mind at the last moment, and swerved the steering wheel. I later found out that person was actually Chi Yuan's plan B. When she framed me during my relationship with Song Li, there were many things she couldn't do herself. She also wasn't confident she could ultimately win Song Li over. So naturally, she prepared a plan B unexpectedly. It was this plan B who ruined her in the end. She told him to cause a small accident for me. As long as I regained my memory, I wouldn't be able to captivate Song Li anymore, and she could trick Song Li out of his assets and be with him. Plan B. But Plan B suddenly realized during the attempt that Yuan clearly wanted to eliminate both him and me, two obstacles at once. I also remember the content of the call Chi Yuan made to me on the day of my accident, when I was on my way to get divorced. She said, it took me 10 years to make the two men who loved you, and whom you loved both leave you. I'm so happy. You ask why I did this? Do you remember the first day we met? I was being bullied, my skirt was pulled off. I was pinned in a corner. You descended from the heavens and beat those people away. You thought you were my hero. You think someone who witnessed me at my most utterly humiliating moment could be my hero. I only wished you would forget it all, or just die. Someone like you, who's had everything go smoothly since childhood. How dare you be stronger than me? A disaster-prone person, and even teach me to be brave. She laughed. You and Song Li are definitely divorcing now. Nothing feels worth the sense of achievement anymore. So let me tell you a secret. That guy who harassed you back then wasn't just the child of Song Li's business partner. They were actually good friends. Ji Huai's injury was authorized by Song Li. He just miscalculated the extent, that's all. Having hurt Ji Huai for Song Li all these years, you're dying of regret, aren't you? You deserve it. That day I was already disheartened. No matter how she provoked me, I accepted my fate. But the moment she mentioned Ji Huai, my heart stirred, remembering all sorts of past events. I did regret it. My sudden U-turn wasn't because I regretted agreeing to the divorce, but because I was going to confront Song Li. I turned around filled with overwhelming hatred, wanting to ask Song Li why he had deceived me. I had chosen him time and again, stepping on Ji Huai's pain, not sparing carrying this guilt for so many years. He could hurt me emotionally, but why did he have to harm Ji Huai, who had never wronged me in any way? Then I discovered my steering wheel had a problem. I slowed down, but it was too late. Still, it was fortunate I slowed down. Otherwise, I would have plunged directly off the overpass and wouldn't have survived. Intentional assault. I wanted Chi Yuan to rot in prison. When I went to register my company, I found the name Wen Ji was already taken. A quick search revealed it was, unsurprisingly, him. Ji Huai had rented an entire floor of offices, newly renovated, aired out, and was moving in furniture these past few days. I went several times, but they all said the boss wasn't in. How little confidence did this man have in me? Or how cold and indifferent had the former me been? To have hurt him so deeply he became seeing soldiers in every bush and tree, overly suspicious. So afraid of facing me after I regained my memory. I didn't want to look for him anymore. I was too tired. After all, I had just been discharged from the hospital. I tore off a sticky note, wrote a message, placed it on his desk and left. I hid sneakily around the corner and saw a tall figure rush over. He opened the door and carefully picked up the sticky note to read. Then, he shed tears. Little Ji, I want to eat sweet and sour pork ribs. I'll be waiting for you at home. Ji Huai returned home. I wasn't there. He stood blankly holding the doorknob. From running fast, sweat beaded on his forehead. Then he sat on the sofa, seemingly regretting his lack of courage that kept him from picking me up from the hospital. I suddenly jumped out and hugged him just like I used to. Little Ji, I am the Wen Shi from 7 years later. I like you. May I invite you to be in a relationship with me? Didn't he say it himself? He would always be my most loyal servant. Epilogue. Song Li, I never imagined I would lose Wen Shi. Not even at the moment of divorce. She agreed over the phone, disheartened, presumably having heard Yuan's soft, coquettish whispers to me. At that time I actually felt a sudden sense of satisfaction. Something Ji Huai couldn't have was ultimately destroyed by me. She never knew how much I envied Ji Huai during high school. I thought that even if I lost Wen Shi, I would still be the unique man in her life. Until Wen Shi lost her memory in the car accident. She opened her eyes. brilliance swirling in them, looking at Nguyen Nguyen and me with nothing but astonishment and scorn. I hadn't seen that look in her eyes for so many years. Shame, annoyance, and frustration filled my chest. In the end, she actually called Gye. I didn't believe it at first. From what I knew, their relationship was beyond repair. But when I opened the door and saw Gye holding her, standing together, her gaze towards me was utterly calm, cool and distant. No love, no hate. In that instant, it felt like a tsunami had hit me. During the 3 years of high school, when she and I fought countless times, I'd never seen such a straightforward girl who never held back her punches. At first, I thought she was just trying to flirt with me, but later realized she genuinely just wanted to settle who was better. Gye spoiled her too much. I was jealous. On the night after the Gao Ka, I lost all romantic notions because my mother sat dejectedly in the private room, unable to even shed tears, while my father said to me in front of her, "Come meet your aunt and your brother." Even ancient emperors couldn't humiliate people more effectively. I rushed over and fought, beat my father, but lost my father's love in the process. I ran to find Wen Shi, couldn't hold back, and cried bitterly in her arms. She told me about her rejection. I froze. Qi Nguyen Nguyen had told me about the forged note, finally asking softly, "You like Zixi, right? Do you think I should do this? If you say no, I'll go explain it to Zixi." I, at my most desperate moment, acted like a villain. I said, "Don't tell her." I was truly grateful to Qi Nguyen Nguyen for pulling those tricks. That's how I was fortunate enough to have the happiest time of my life after the Gao Kao. When she was full of wild ideas, we schemed together to make that mother and daughter lose face on various occasions. In private, she righteously and sternly berated my dad. The first time my dad met this girl, he was scolded until he was drenched in blood. When she nudged me with her elbow, "Helping you out. No need to thank me. Just call me Sister Shi." I hugged her, watching her surprised and strangely blushing face, and drawled out hoarsely, "Thanks, Sister Shi." That summer was beautiful. Later, she changed her university preference and went to the same school as me. That day she seemed distracted, hesitant, but I went to urge her. Seeing my pitiful expression, she finally made the change. Her charm lay in her decisiveness and fearlessness of the future. I thought, I must not let her down. But later, how did it become like that? After university, Gye still often came to see her. I remained jealous. I pretended to be disappointed and angry. "He has no feelings for me. He just sees me as a child," when she said. "If you keep in touch with him, then let's not be together anymore." For the sake of my sense of security, she ultimately chose me. She didn't know my fear, because behind her back, I was despicably flaunting our relationship in front of Geo Hai. And Geo Hai was such an upright person. He wouldn't do something like stealing someone away, which allowed me to steal the chance to be with her. When she was straightforward, didn't get jealous, didn't nitpick, spoke her mind. This continued until graduation. We founded Wensong together, thinking we had to prove ourselves and secure the inheritance before his younger brother grew up. She was still young then, learning to handle interpersonal relationships. Later, she became increasingly steady, even earning my father's praise. That was the first time I felt really panicked. My treasure had been discovered. She was excellent, persistent in everything she did. I always knew she wasn't like Qi Nguyen Nguyen, who would just cry when she messed up. In the following years, she became more and more capable, more and more independent of me. Once, when Qi Nguyen Nguyen made a mistake, I criticized her. She cried. I said disappointedly that when she wouldn't be like this. Qi Nguyen Nguyen cried in a collapsed manner. "Lacked love and money since I was a child. Is my personality my fault? You all come from wealthy backgrounds. How could you know that your single step equals a lifetime for someone like me? I will study hard, desperately hard, but not being able to compare to Wenxi is something I can never change in this lifetime. Song Li, others can humiliate me like this. But you, how can you too?" She liked me and had expressed it early on. I found a long-lost sense of being worshipped and control in her. She felt overwhelmingly grateful for my slightest concern, appearing pitiful and delicate. Unlike Wenxi, who would only say she was busy and hoped I could handle some things myself. She became more and more like a strong career woman. Chino and Yuan became the repository for all my emotions. Chino and Yuan ultimately schemed me. That day, after a failed business trip, I was dead drunk. I hugged someone, soft, who stroked my hair and coaxed me to sleep. I knew she wasn't when she would only grab me and say, "Let's review this when you wake up. See if we can salvage it tomorrow." In that moment, I couldn't hold on anymore. The next morning, Chino and Yuan got out of bed with red eyes and said, "I'll go explain it to her. It's all my fault. I'll go far away." I swallowed the words. "What kind of position are you trying to put me in?" And replaced them with, "You're her best friend. She's been so good to you. How could you?" Chino and Yuan cried. "I've wronged her, but I haven't wronged you." "Didn't you enjoy it last night, Songli?" I covered my face. I knew I had wronged Wenxi. I had despicably tricked her. I knew I was inferior to Jiu Hoi in every way. But this also gave me a sense of superiority. Because the woman he liked was here with me, suffering grievances. Sometimes I panicked, afraid Wenxi would really leave one day. With every argument, the light in her eyes dimmed a little. I would desperately try to win her back, telling her I knew all she had done for me, and if she really didn't love me, why would she work so hard for my company? When she always seemed minded, she had given up the best person for me. After all these years of persistence, she had done nothing to let me down. Like a spring that loses its elasticity after being stretched too much. I was afraid when she would one day be completely disappointed. Finally, that day arrived. On that stormy day when she called me, I knew. Chino Nguyen replied to her. I also knew. I was just suddenly curious how when she would handle it. That day felt like a tipping point. I always felt it signified something. It turned out to be the beginning of Wenxi's loss of hope. With every subsequent tug of war, I grew more annoyed. The last time when she agreed. That day was the first clear day after continuous spring rain. When she had a car accident. When she woke up, her eyes were sparkling, but she no longer remembered any of our shared past. There's a word for it, isn't there? Heart-wrenching pain. After leaving the hospital, Chino and Nguyen held my hand tightly, asking if I was upset. I laughed. No. I'm happy. She's free. When you steal something, you have to return it. But I didn't expect the aftermath of losing Wenxi to come so quickly and so strongly. That day I saw her at the company. We parted on bad terms. Later, looking at the appointment she proactively made, I broke down and cried uncontrollably. What had I done? Always afraid of losing her, I desperately tried to prove I wasn't worried about losing her. Now the prophecy had fulfilled itself, the fear realized. What was I crying about? What right did I have to cry? When she remembered bit by bit, her eyes filled with more and more hatred for me. The day she woke up after the second car accident, she called the police. After reporting it, she told me some things. She had strong self-esteem. Always couldn't be bothered to address Chino and Yuan's attempts to sow discord. That day, she told me everything. With each thing she said, I trembled. She talked about not being able to find me when her father was sick. About Chino and Nguyen slandering her with male clients. About Chino and Nguyen's child not being mine at all. She looked at me. Song Li, this time it's really goodbye. I wish you poverty, misery, and to die without an heir. After saying that, she left without a trace of reluctance to leave. I finally earned her hatred. Perhaps only like this would the second half of my life be somewhat bearable. Later, it happened as expected. The company staff followed Wenxi away. It soon went bankrupt. My father misunderstood that I was trying to murder my brother. Chino and Nguyen gave birth to that man's child. Before being sentenced, she came looking for me, and was discovered by that man, who broke my legs. That night in the hospital, I was in too much pain to speak, and couldn't reach the nurse call button. Suddenly, I saw a figure run past outside my room. Lively, full of energy, with a visibly pregnant belly, yet walking briskly and steadily. G.Y. found her, grabbed her into his arms and scolded her dotingly. Pregnant? And running around like this? I couldn't find you after you went to get the test results. You're going to worry me to death. When she blinked, I just saw a child running around wildly. Had to stop him. She looked up and suddenly noticed me. I wanted to turn my face away in shame and embarrassment, but I was greedy for the sight of her. I even wished she would come in and humiliate me, talk to me. That would be better. When she just froze for a moment, then smiled faintly and mockingly, touching her own belly. She didn't say a thing. Not a single word. Held by Geoi, she left, chatting and laughing with him. How I wished she would come in then and say to me, I liked you so much back. Then, favored you in so many choices. After leaving me, how did you end up like this? Song-Lee, does it hurt? You deserve it. Those words, the extremely sarcastic, kicking someone when they're down kind of words, she was too stingy to say to me. And these words were actually what I wanted to say to myself. I really, truly liked her. The 18-year-old her. The 25-year-old her. The present her. But I know, I am not worthy. Stolen goods must be returned. A deceived heart vanishes like smoke. I had finally lost her completely. Epilogue. When she, before that day one timeline, the night before the divorce, 11:30 p.m. My high heels was squeezing my aching feet. After work, I wanted to stretch and practice some military-style boxing, but I instinctively glanced at the cubicles. Even though no one was there, the work environment still felt restrictive. When I turned off the computer, I saw a tired face reflected in the screen. After a moment's pause, I remembered I was getting divorced tomorrow. From 18 to 25 years old, I gave it my all, transitioning from green and awkward to smooth and polished. How did I end up in this state? Suddenly I felt so wronged. It was already 12:15 a.m. when I got back to my place. The security guard greeted me politely, then watched me enter with a puzzled look, seemingly always wondering why I was consistently alone. He helped me move that day, smiling as he asked, Miss, how come no man is helping you? I looked at him, feeling both sour and unconvinced. I walked past him carrying a box in each arm and said, Do I look like I need one? Later, the security department spread the word that the female tenant on the 12th floor was practically born with super strength. But if one could rely on someone who would willingly choose never to need protection, the person who promised to protect me and give me the best was now protecting and defending someone else. Countless times, when both Chinuan and I needed him, Song-Lee abandoned his responsibilities and duties, running towards his so-called Chinuan is weak and helpless. She's not as strong as you. Righteously and impatiently. He knew I disdained such arguments. Each time I only asked, Are you really sure about this decision? He would resort to his evasive tactics, frown and say, I'm just helping her. Nothing else. You were the one who initially asked me to help her. Not long ago. Chinuan sent me a sonogram. I've wronged you. But my child needs a father. In that moment, I didn't even want to ask Song-Lee anymore. You helped her into bed? Do you still like me? How can you do these things and face your marriage? Your conscience? My years of misplaced affection hurt so much I felt lost. 2 timeline. Day of the divorce. My appointment at the registry was in the afternoon. Get full, take a nap, then change the trajectory of my life in a daze. 1 month after Chinuan sent me that sonogram, Song-Lee and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Song-Lee sneered, trying to retreat in order to advance. Have you heard the story of the boy who cried wolf? I asked him. Do you think the wolf will ever come? He was speechless. Whether he would be sad about the divorce, whether he ever liked me, why he betrayed me. At this point, none of it mattered anymore. I might seek revenge, rise up fiercely, be discouraged and then suddenly see the light. But at this moment I only wanted to separate from him. No matter what I had given for this, what I had abandoned, everything had become meaningless. But those memories still flooded my mind, disturbing me so much on this day that I could barely work. I remembered the day after the Gaokao, when Song-Lee, the school bully, cried in front of me like a child, completely throwing me off. When we went to bully his brother together, Song-Lee couldn't bear it, softened in the end, and bought his brother a lollipop. I rubbed his head and said, laughing, Song-Lee, you're really not bad. Song-Lee confessed his feelings to me, nuzzling my head and luring me. Sister can this little brother get a promotion? I want to be your man. He was so good at it, acting coquettishly, It was practically against the rules. But now it all felt like a lifetime ago. I don't know if it was wounded pride or something else, but he became frequently impatient and lost his temper with me. I discussed matters factually. He argued about whether I respected him. He was insecure, needed to find warmth from others. And I was supposedly strong as steel, didn't need constant self-reassurance. Self-affirmation? I'm human too. I get tired. When I'm tired, who am I supposed to turn to? After getting together with Song Lee, I rarely reminisced about the past, believing that, as long as we steadfastly moved towards our desired destination, a bright future awaited us. But in the end, I reached the summit alone. He went to see someone else's scenery. I never had grand ambitions. Spoiled since childhood, this was the first time I had been so serious about something. I didn't want to regret it. I wanted to prove myself right, that the future was bright. I don't like to lose, but he made me lose. Lose utterly and completely. 3 timeline. 1 hour before the divorce, Song Lee and I had already divided our assets. The Wensong shares he gave were substantial. I would definitely need them later. I could earn money myself. Didn't need too much cash. My family had property locally. I had no particular attachment to houses, so I left it to him. Actually, it was because Chinua Nguyen had once stayed to take care of him while I was on a business trip. She even disgustingly left some of her personal belongings behind. How personal? Personal to the point of being unmentionable. Even a tough girl like me found these things disgusting. But some people turned a blind eye, told blatant lies. I was so angry I lost all will to fight. My efforts, my endurance, my principles, he actually knew them all. But he didn't care. What could I do about it? This was the thing I had persisted with the longest. Now I was going to personally give it up. Someone was chatting in the class group, seemingly grabbing red envelopes, congratulating someone on finding a good job. Looking closer, it was congratulations for academic god Gigi, returned from overseas with a PhD, at some recently famous startup. The planning that went viral not long ago was actually his work. I froze for a moment, but ultimately didn't join the excitement. Turned off my phone. A faint, gratified smile touched my lips. The last news I heard about him was that the surgery was very successful. He could actually continue playing basketball, but he wasn't going to because of his busy studies. And it was still unknown if he would stay abroad. The procedures were troublesome. He'd decide about playing basketball after settling down. After all, his youth was already past. But still, I was very happy for him. We were like 2 parallel lines, originally intersecting in complex ways, but later, for some reason, grew increasingly distant. Those feelings I once had for him felt so remote. I wondered if they ever really happened. Except for that time my father was sick. I never disturbed him again. I hoped he hadn't heard what I said when I hung up that day. My father was very lucky, catching the time when the foreign expert was back for an inspection. Otherwise, the sequelae could have been severe, shortening his life by many years. What more did I have to be dissatisfied about? I was excellent myself. It was just my romantic life that wasn't smooth. I would continue working hard. After all, I had once been protected so well by someone. On the drive to the Civil Affairs Bureau, I was very calm. I felt neither love nor hate for Song Lee. I was still quite hopeful about the future. And there was one more thing. A small, deeply suppressed, barely dared to be whispered selfish wish. I hoped that little classmate GU, in the world without me, would have a future bright as brocade, and a happy family. And I too would have my own unique life.